Cool. So yeah, in terms of the different ways in which we can generate wealth, the first one is home equity, and this is really where if you already own a home or you own your own house and you've been paying down the mortgage or the value of the house has been increasing, you've got what we call equity in the property, and not many people understand or realize that you can actually take out this home equity or the equity in your home and use it for projects which will help you to either build a portfolio or do projects which you can make a profit on. So this is one of the ways in which we can generate wealth. The second is pensions. As I mentioned, I'm a SSAS pensions trustee, and I'll be talking to you a bit later about how you can use pensions to purchase properties, and then also use it to generate wealth. Investments. So there are different kinds of investments that you can do, which will give you a return on your investment. So whether that's you invest in a business or you invest in a project, and that brings you back some kind of returns. Property portfolio, which is our main topic for today, it is a way to generate wealth. Having a business, having your own intellectual property. So whether you have books or you have royalties, those are the different types of intellectual properties that you can generate. And then, of course, what Bimbala will talk to you about as well is joint ventures, how we can come together as a group to generate wealth. So those are the 7 pillars of wealth. And as I said, if there are any more that you know and that's not on this list, I would love to know. So if you can kick it to the next slide. Cool. So some of the benefits of property investing, and why it's a great option is because really there are 5 different things you can achieve with property. The first is you can have it as an income. So by owning a portfolio of properties, it can be a source of income for yourself. So if like Bimbola did, where she left her job in the city, and it was her property portfolio that essentially became her income. So buying a vast amount of properties can provide you a source of income. The next is you can benefit, or why it's property is a great investment, depending on where you invest, because it's not everywhere that gives you capital growth. But let's say you invest in the south. So London sides, and there are certain pockets in the UK that you do get capital growth, but London predominantly and the outer London generally benefits from great capital growth. Also, areas where, for example, you have things like HS2 maybe going through, they're going to benefit from capital growth. And what capital growth is just where your properties, on average, we know that every 10 years, property doubles on average every 10 years. So if you buy a property today, you in 10 years time you will benefit from the capital growth of that property. HS2 is like the high speed to rail line that the country is building. So that will go through certain cities, and where it goes through certain cities, because it's going to connect everyone to London within, like, say 30 minutes, depending on how far you are. So those kind of projects will benefit the environment, will benefit, well, not the environment, but it'll benefit the towns because they have a more direct link to London, and that in turn will increase the value of the properties in those towns. So that's just an example, but there are many more examples which of things and projects that help to generate capital growth. But essentially, you buy a property now, in 10 years' time, on average, that property would have doubled in value. And when it doubles in value, you are the ones who, if you own the property, you are the ones who will benefit from that. Because let's say you bought a property that was worth £200,000. In 10 years' time, it's now worth £400,000. So that's £200,000 of equity that is now in that house that you can use to do other things. Okay. So that's another reason why property is a great investment option. You can have it for cash flow. So maybe you don't want to leave your job. Maybe you're happy, you're helping people. I believe you're all doctors, or you have some affiliation to doctors in this group. And maybe that's, you know, that's your life's purpose. You're in it to, you want to help people. You don't necessarily want to give up being a doctor. You don't want to leave your profession because maybe you've worked so hard to get into it. So but for you, what property can do then is just, it can supplement your cash flow. It can supplement the money that you get every month, or it can be something that you can use for other things, like maybe if you want to send your children to private school, or you want to go on holidays, you don't want to touch your income, but you know, the cash flow that you're receiving from your property can supplement your lifestyle. So it's not everybody that leaves, you know, it's not everybody that's in property that leaves their 9 to 5, but you know, it can still aid and help you to generate, to bring in more cash flow into your life, which you can use for other things. Property can be a business, so you can run it as an actual business. Um, so even if you have a property portfolio, if you treat it as a business, like a proper business, you can get the benefits that you do from running, you know, a separate business. So that's another thing about property. You can actually run it as a business. And then property also helps you to create the type of lifestyle you want, whatever that lifestyle is. And this is the thing, it's different for everybody. What one of you may envision for your own life will be completely different to the next person. Okay. So eh, everybody has their own goals, everybody has their own aspirations, everybody has their own dreams. What property can help each and every single person do is to achieve whatever goals, whatever dreams, and whatever aspirations that you have. So that's another benefit of why property investment is such a great option. Kick it to the next slide, please, Bim.
All right, so the next slide is me looking at the how to raise funds. But before I actually go into that, I just want to check the people in the room. Do we have? Does everyone own their own property? Does everyone have a mortgage? You just put in the chat yes, no, please. Does everyone have a mortgage?
Or just raise your hand, whichever one is
Yeah,
easier.
I just want to know. Okay, so I've got some people that don't have a mortgage, so I'll take that to mean that you're still renting. Okay, and then
Imbola, is it all right if I say something?
yes, please.
Yes, you just said somebody, I think a colleague I made asked something about the HS2. It might be worthwhile just mentioning something briefly about that. So
Let me answer that.
yeah, in terms of towns, I live in the Northwest. Most people know HS2 as a high-speed rail, but like Dami said, it is about the connecting towns.
Right.
And at the minute, the phase 2B, I'm just trying to turn on my video. The phase 2B is planned to stop at Crewe. And the property prices at Crewe now is probably one of the lowest in the country. The projection is that in the next 5-10 years, it's probably going to appreciate by, let's say, 10, 15, 20%. So that is probably one place that people might want to look at. So these are connecting towns where you could actually go to HS2 website and look at the stop stations. Birmingham is very popular, but I'm not sure that you're going to get a good deal there because most people have bought properties around there. So Crewe might be one place to look at.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. I mean, HS2 is just an example of something that can help with capital growth. There are many things like, you know, for example, if you're in a town and they're redeveloping the town, so they're investing heavily into the infrastructure, into building hospitals, into building more, into the facilities that are available around the town. Those type of things can also help with capital growth. So HS2 was just an example, and thank you for putting that example there, because yeah, anyone can go and look and see, you know, where the lines are going through. And as you said, any town on that line is going to definitely benefit from capital growth, because the connections to London are going to be a lot more. So yeah, thank you.
Excellent. All right, thank you. The other question I just wanted to check as well before we get going to the next slide is Is everyone, can we assume that everyone is a doctor or a nurse or in the medical profession? And are you guys all working by a limited company? So if you're not, maybe I can just get the no's. So is there anyone that isn't using a limited LTD to work? Okay, I'll take that as everyone is. Okay, so that's cool. And everyone's a doctor. All right, excellent. All right, so let us go into ways to raise finance. It was important that I get an understanding of that, because when we're talking about pensions, obviously it would make more sense if you're already a director of the company. And I don't obviously want to exclude anyone out of that conversation. And then the reason why I wanted to know about homeowners in here is just when we start talking about home equity. So for those that are currently not, that don't currently have a mortgage, I suppose your first thing, the first step that I would recommend is to get on the property ladder. We probably won't talk about that just now, but you can definitely reach out to us later, and then we can just talk through how to, what are things to look out for to get you on that ladder, because it's so important. Like, there's nothing as important as that, owning your own home. And the amazing thing about being in the UK is the government has so many first-time buyer schemes to help people get on the property ladder. And despite the pros and despite the cons of those schemes, I always say I believe it's a fantastic opportunity. I think it's a privilege actually, because imagine growing up in another country where there's no help whatsoever. You will forever not be able to do it, or you might end up having to save so much money to get on the property ladder. But in the UK, you only need so little, and the schemes are there. As long as you have a job, you have a source of income, it's you can do it. So that would be my first recommendation if you don't already own your home. Now, for those that do own their homes, then we need to start talking about home equity. So if you're looking to release money to get money for property investment, there's so many ways. There's so many creative ways actually of raising funds. But I'm just going to concentrate on these three because I believe these three will be will probably be more relatable. And so home equities, like I said, if you have your own home, most of us when we buy our home, there's this drive and this desire to pay off our mortgage very quickly, and sometimes we overpay on our mortgage, and there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. However, depending on what your goal is, I say to people, if your goal is to invest, is to have more than that one property, then what you want to do is you want to try and get the money out of that property and use that to invest somewhere else. So, and it's actually no different, because like Danny explained, if you are in a property that is appreciated in value and you've got some equity in your home, it's just there. It's not doing anything for you. However, if you so this is about you controlling what your money does for you. So rather than you look just sitting on this house that has so much equity, look to extract that money out and then use that same money and buy yourself another property. So now you're compounding, and the interest that could have been applied onto your equity. Now you're looking at two opportunities rather than the one. So definitely something to consider. Releasing money from your existing home to purchase another property. If you have a pension, as Danny is going to be telling us a little bit more, pension is a fantastic way to release funds to actually get you investing, especially if you are a director of your own company. And of course, savings. There's always this this thing that everyone says that, doctors are well paid. I don't know if doctors are well paid in the UK, but generally doctors are meant to be people that have lots and lots of money, and that might actually be the case for you guys. So yeah, if you do have a lot of money sitting in your savings account, you want to take that money out and you want to put it into something else that's going to generate funds for you. We know that with inflation and the low interest rates on savings, you actually lose money by putting your money in your savings account. Yes, you might be looking at them as you might have the opportunity to go look and check that account and see the money there, or you might have the opportunity to take that money out as and when you need it. However, if you look at it holistically, you are losing money in your savings account, especially when you have more than, if you have like 5,000, 10,000 pounds for emergency or whatever, that's fine. I suppose people need to have some sort of buffer to just kind of help them. But if you have anything, I'd say if you have anything more than £10,000, in your savings, like unless you're saving for something that you're about to buy, you ideally want to put that money into a property and then allow that money to start working. I mean, for doctors like yourselves, I know, we know how many hours of work you guys put in. Right now with the pandemic, you guys are working around the clock. The pressure is just there. It's just a lot of work, and we appreciate it. So if you worked so hard for this money, you want that money to work very hard for you. So any money that you have in your savings, you want to start to think about how to put that into a property. So like I said, there's so many other ways you can raise money. These are just like the basic ones that are easily accessible. Okay, so let me talk you through some of the property strategies. So now that I'm telling you to take your money out of your savings account, what are you going to use that money for? And there's so much you can do. And the amazing thing, one of the things I love so much about properties, there's just no one size fits all. That you can do all sorts of different things. I suppose it's like medicine, right? You go to medical school, but then that doesn't mean that it stops there. Some of you are indifferent. I can't even start to talk about the different things that you guys do, but you understand what I'm saying. It's being in medicine is just the beginning part. Specializing in different things, that's where the real juice is. And that's the same thing with property. Saying I'm into property is one thing, but there's so many things, so many ways you can make money in property. So I'm going to talk through some of the strategies. And some of these ones, as I said earlier, some of them will be low risk, no stress, very easy. And some would need a lot of time, a lot of money, a lot of experience. Now, as I'm telling you or describing the strategies, I know that when it comes to time is something that a lot of us struggle with, especially in your profession. Some of these things you don't have to do it yourself. You can always outsource that. But I just want to talk you through all the different options. Because for some people, having a small buy to let is fine. They just don't want the stress. You just want to have a property, get paid, and be done with it. For some others, the rental or the profit from the single buy to let is probably not even worth the time that is apportioned to it. So let's talk about the different strategies, and then hopefully you'll find some of the ones that you actually can, the ones that you feel you want to look into further. So the start basically is buy to let. So buy to let, you buy a property, you put in a family there, they pay their rent, you get your profit, you pay your mortgage, you're good. Either it's a house or a flat. If it's a flat, you pay your service charge and your ground rent, and then you're good. Whatever else is the profit. So that's very easy. The second one is rent to rent. So now for those that don't have either they don't have enough money to get started in properties, can't get a mortgage currently, or they want to start now. You know how it takes about up to 3 months to even buy a property, even if you had the money. But with rent to rent, you're able to get started easily. So basically, rent to rent is you renting someone else's property, and with their permission, renting that out to some other people. But the renting out to other people is where the real juice is, because you're not just renting it out to another family. You're not going to make any money doing that. You are going to do something to the property to make sure that that property is earning you a lot more than what you're paying in your rent. So there are two strategies that are kind of wrapped up in the rent to rent. So you're either going to rent a property to make it, beautify it, make it lovely, and put it and stick it on, like, say, Airbnb, and rent it out night by night, where people end up paying you per night and you make a bit more money. Or you're going to get a property that is good enough, big enough, and you're going to rent out individual rooms. So again, these are very ideal for the medical professionals, or properties that are close enough to hospitals, because when you're doing locoming and stuff, I know you guys already know the deal. You don't necessarily, if you're going to locum in an area, you don't always want to go get a new tenancy. So you find yourself a short stay place to stay for maybe 2 months, 3 months, 1 week, whatever the case may be. So those are the ideal places for rent to the service accommodation. Or if it's the HMO, where if you're going to be locuming for a period of time and you do want to take a tenancy, you don't want to, there's no real point in getting yourself a big, massive house when you already have your family somewhere in another part of the country. So you go rent yourself a room and you stay with other medical professionals. So those are opportunities there for you as doctors. You can rent property to then rent out to other people. So it's very low cost, low entry fee, You can get into it very quickly. There's so many things you need to obviously learn about how that works, and how to actually get those properties. But it's a strategy, and it works for a lot of people. The next one is the buy, refurbish, refinance, repeat. And this is basically where you buy a property that needs some work doing to it. You then spend some extra bit of cash to refurb the property. So it might be that you find a property that doesn't have a kitchen, or maybe the kitchen hasn't been updated in the last, say, 20 years, or the bathrooms, but like it could be anything really. You buy this property, get the builder, get your build team involved. They do the refurb. Once you refurbed it and added that extra value back onto the property, you then go back to the bank and have it refinanced. And by you doing that, basically what you're then able to do is, because you bought it at a very cheap price or a discounted price, you've added some money to do it up. The real value or the new value of this property is a whole lot more than what you started with. So when you do get the refinance, you might even be able to pull out some of the initial money spent. So you bought a property for, let's say a property is worth 100,000, and you were able to snap it at 50 because it needs work. You've then gone ahead and spent £10,000 to do up the work. Now it looks really pretty. It's now back to the 100K valuation. When you go to the bank will then give you a refinance of, say, 75% loan to value. You get £75,000 back, and then you pay off your initial mortgage or loan, or whichever way you've been able to acquire that property. And then there might be some change left over for you to then go and reinvest somewhere else. And that's what the repeat bit stands for. So this is a strategy that a lot of people, a lot of investors like, because you can easily scale up. I'm just looking at the time. Housing multiple occupation is HMO. So that's the room by room let. So renting properties by the room. Distressed sale is, again, a property that is really distressed, really messy, really stinky. You buy the property, you do it up, or you sell it on, whatever the case may be. You pick it up at a bargain. Buy to sell, you buy a property to then flip on and sell for a profit. You can buy off plan and make money that way. You can do a lease option. A lease option is basically where you're able to lease a property with the intention to buy it at a future date. So prior to you getting into this agreement, you would have agreed a purchase price with the seller. And then in the meantime, you lease the property, you pay rent with the intention to buy it at a later stage at the price that's been agreed today. Service accommodation, I already explained that. So that's your short-term rental, perfect for holiday rental, perfect for contractors, perfect for medical professionals working in different locations. Commercial conversion is where a commercial building is converted to residential. There's so many of those in the country. And the government is quite generous with planning when in fact they want a lot of commercial properties to be converted to residential. So there's more places for people to live, as most companies now are looking to trade online. And then, of course, property development. You can buy a piece of land and build on it. You can buy a property and then develop it into buy a big, massive house, develop that into multiple flats. There's so many opportunities here. So as you can see, some of them sound quite easy, some sound a bit complicated, but these are strategies that people that are into properties use or employ to make them lots and lots of money in property. Okay, running quickly. So I'm going to talk to you about joint venture. And this is one topic that I love so much. I love it because there's this saying that says, if you want to go fast, you go on your own, because clearly you have no one dragging you down, no one wasting your time. You don't need to make decisions with many people. You can just make the decision today and off you go. So if you want to go fast, yes, you do it on your own. But if you want to go far, you have to do it with other people. And this is so true for joint venture. I always like to share my first joint venture experience because I think it's quite motivating. So I've been investing in property, as I said, and then a few years back, I was with my mentor and I was ready to buy my next property. I was looking to do something more better than I'd done before. So anyway, I got my mentor and we started looking, blah, blah, blah. Anyways, I told him what my budget was. I told him kind of property I was looking to buy. I told him how much I had in cash. And then I was looking for property within my price range. But then he started to challenge me and say, look, and obviously as we were looking, he saw some fantastic deals. In fact, it was a commercial property It was fantastic. He wasn't, he already saw the potential. And then he started to encourage me to look into it. When I looked at this property, it was double what I was willing to spend. So my first thing was, I can't afford it. Like, this is way beyond my price range. Plus, I have never done this before. So I wasn't really keen. But as a mentor, and this is what good mentors do, they challenge and they push you. He started to encourage me to look beyond my limitation. And then he asked me one simple question: do you not have people that have, do you have friends that have money? And I said, well, I suppose, but, and then I started to think, well, actually, that is true. I do know people that have money. However, I wasn't quite sure that I could ask them. And then, he basically said, look, you need to take the plunge. So I thought, you know what, I'm not going to fall his hand, as they say. So I went ahead and I asked people my friends and family. I was only looking for 2 people to join venture with me. In the end, I found 4 people, which was actually a surprise. Eventually, I had to let 2 go, and then I stopped with the 2. But what then happened was, we went ahead and we purchased this property. It was, in fact, till date, it's still my biggest property. My biggest opportunity is one that gives me a lot of money than anything else. And I always look back and say to myself, if I never did that deal, I probably wouldn't have scaled up my investment. I probably wouldn't have the courage that I have now to do other things. And it wasn't just the fact that this deal was good and I was able to share with other people. It showed me that, I could actually get into bigger deals. Left to me, I was going for the smaller deals. But now I'm like, you know what? Now I can do bigger, because as long as I can get people that are like-minded like myself, we can get into joint ventures. So I love it. I love it. I love it because, one, it showed me that I could pull my resources together with other people, which is the first thing on my slide. So where you've only got 10K, 20K, 30K, 50K, whatever your budget or what your access to funds are, you can pool resources with somebody or other people and actually get into the game. I hear a lot of people tell me, I don't have enough money. I've only got £10,000. I've only got £20,000. And most people are sitting on whatever money they have until they're able to afford or get a bigger deposit. But why do you have to wait when you can pool resources for somebody and get started today? With a joint venture, you actually reduce your financial risk, because now you're doing it with other people. So if there was a big, massive learning curve or whatever, it's not just on your head. And I think that's important, because sometimes property could be quite scary. We're not talking 10,000, we're not talking 10 pounds, 20 pounds, we're talking hundreds of pounds going into millions. So you obviously want to know that, okay, if anything were to go wrong, if it doesn't quite pan out the way that I wanted to, at least I've got other people to help me that I can, we're in the same boat together. There's something about being in the same boat together people love. So that's an amazing advantage of a joint venture. It reduces your financial risk, because obviously you're not putting all of your life savings into, you're putting just a portion of it. With joint venture, it actually stops you from procrastinating. How many of people have thought about property, have wanted to do property, but they're still sitting down, not doing anything? When you get into a joint venture, everybody motivates everybody, because now it's not just about you and your fears and your limitations. It's now looking beyond. Now you begin to see your glass half full rather than half empty. So it basically takes procrastination out of the window. The power of leverage. I mean, I think that I've already explained that what you can do with working with other people is amazing. You can leverage off whether it's your skill set, whether it's somebody else's experience, whether it's somebody else's time. You can do so much in a joint venture. Obviously, it's not something that I say people should just jump into. If you're a bunch of novices, you don't just jump into it because you want to do a joint venture. You've got to make sure it's the right mix of people. But the amazing thing is the power of collaboration, and it gives you the opportunity to go for bigger deals. I don't know how many of you play Monopoly. In the Monopoly game, you have the small deals, you have the big deals. Everyone's kind of like trying to just stay within the small deal because they don't want to lose so much money. But when you joint venture, you can actually go into the bigger deals. You can start looking at buying properties in the city of London, properties that are going into millions, because you have the money as a group. And you know what they say, where the big deals are the ones that gives you the big returns. So you can get into it as a result. So again, because of time, I'm going to stop here, but I just want to encourage you guys to start to think about working together. I want to, the amazing thing about joint venture, the amazing thing about being in the UK is, trust me, nobody can cheat you of your money. Everything can, as long as you got the right legals in place, you've got the right contract in place, you are secured, you're fine. The issue of trust, which is the big issue with a lot of us Africans or just black, with the right legals in place and the right transparency and whatever, you can negate that completely. You can mitigate that completely. So don't allow that to stop you. We see what the Asians are doing. We see what the Jews are doing. They're collaborating. They're making and brokering deals in this country. We really need to get up and get moving. So that is the bit about joint venture. Again, we can always have, oh Lord, sorry. We can always have conversations about this much later. So I'm going to pass back to Dami. I don't know why I've done this. Apologies. Just pass back to Dami, and then he will go through pension, because we also want to make money through our pension. All that hard work, all that money you're putting in your pension pot, you want to get it working. Okay,
That's
over to
it.
you, Dami.
Excellent. Can I just check you can hear me? You can hear me?
Yep, we can hear
Cool,
you.
awesome. Okay, so thanks, Bim, for that. So you've heard about joint ventures. I see some questions coming in Q&A. Rest assured we'll take these, sorry, in the chat. Rest assured we'll take these in the Q&A. So the next thing that we want to talk about, and the reason being is not a lot of people understand and know that we can actually utilize our pensions, if you have one, to also invest in property. The myth, or the story that we're traditionally told, is that you put away money into your pension and you can't access that until, say, you're 55, or or your retirement age. So many people, rightly or wrongly, they put that at the back of their mind. They don't really look at, okay, putting away. Sometimes some people don't even go for pensions because they'd rather use that money now than put money away, aside every month. But what I want to explain to you this morning, and I know this is not for everybody, but there might be one or two of you who you've already invested quite heavily into your pension, and that money is sitting there and it's not really doing anything. And when I say not really doing anything, what I mean is, that every year you get your statement and you look at it, and you'll probably see that maybe it's done 5 to 10%, and then you'll kind of put that paper away, and then you wait another year, you get your next statement. So every year it's probably doing maybe 6-7%. Then you take away the fees that those institutions charge. So really, year on year, your money is doing maybe 3 to 5% for you. But what I want to talk to you about is this different type of pension. It's not new. It's something that's been around since the 1970s, 1960s. It's HMRC approved, meaning that the government are the ones who will tell you, or who will basically tell you that you can have this type of pension. So it's nothing, there's no dodginess about it. It's just many people don't really know about it. So if you click it to the next slide for me. So a SSAS is a small self-administered scheme, and it's a type of pension that gives you 100% control of what you do with the money that you put away in your pension. Up until today, up until right now, if you have a pension, and it's probably good to do a temperature check. How many people have pensions? Just raise your hand through the hand thing. Let me just check how many people have pensions. Just raise your hand. Raise your hand. Let me see. Anyone? No? Okay, 1, 2, 3. Okay, cool. 4. Anyone else? So 4 people here have pensions.
A bit
Okay.
more.
Oh,
A bit
1,
more.
2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, cool. So six of us have pensions. Cool. So can't find a hand. Okay, just put. Okay, cool. So there's a few people here. So I'm sure that for what you've been doing up until now is you've just been putting away, whether that's a SIP, which is a small invested pension thing, or whether you've just got a private pension. You've just been putting away in it, and you look at it every year. You don't really do anything. With a SSAS, you can actually control where your money goes, and one of the things you can do with it is you can buy property with this type of pension. So if you kick it to the next slide for me. Um, so just some key features real quick. And again, I'm not going to be able to go into everything, but we have our contact details at the end, and you can get in touch. So it's an occupational pension scheme. In order to have a SAS, you're most likely the direct, well, you need to be the director of your company. Okay, so that's why we asked right at the beginning how many people are directors of their companies, and I think everybody is a director here. So as long as you're a director, you can have this type of pension. Um, in talking about joint ventures, this is another great benefit of the SAS. You can actually have up to 11 people within your SAS. So if you have 11 of you and you come together, of course you need to think about this carefully, and you need to ensure that you're all in it together. But you can have up to 11 people uh, under one pension, and so if you all come together and you put your pensions together, or you put your money together and create this vehicle, you can benefit in so many ways. The next thing is it's a highly tax efficient environment. People don't really understand this. For a personal pension, I think the limit that you can do is £80,000 a year into your personal private pension. Within a SAS, you can put £250,000 tax free tax free into this SAS. Yeah, that's a lot of money that you can put, and then remember, you control 100% of the funds. So not only can you put £250,000 away, but then you can then control what that's used for. What that £250,000 is used for. So you almost create a perpetual circle of wealth, because you're generating wealth, and then you're putting the wealth back into whatever you've generated, the profits you've generated, you're putting it back into the pension to pull it out again, to reuse it, to do more. And if you can imagine a circle, you just create like a wheel of wealth. And then, like I said, you have control of investment decisions. There are many things that you can invest in within a SAS. If you kick it to the next slide for me, Bim. So some more benefits. Like I said, as an individual, you have control. You can look at long-term returns. There's tax efficiency. The other thing about a SAS is it's held by trust law. Um, Trust law is basically where anything you have inside of a trust, the government we know we're all going to pass on and leave this earth, right? And at point of death, what happens is that the government of this country, they will assess what's called your estate, so your personal estate, and anything that is within your personal estate is automatically liable for a 40% tax charge to whoever is taking that inheritance on.
Hmm.
Let that sink in for a second. You've worked for 30, 40, 50 years,
Mm.
right? You've worked hard, your labor, your sweat, and then you die. Anything that's considered within your personal estate that you're passing on to your wife, your children, whoever that may be, they are automatically liable to pay 40% of the worth of whatever you're passing on. That's why they call it government robbery. The government rob us even in our death. So, but anything that's held within a trust, okay, it falls outside your personal estate, meaning that the government cannot touch it. That's how in this country wealth is passed on from generation to generation to generation. If you've ever heard of the Grosvenor estate, Grosvenor House in London, and that is a trust. And that's how those guys, every generation is just handed that estate, and they continue to benefit, and that's how they preserve their legacy for years and years and years, because everything is held in a trust. So even if it's just that alone, how powerful is that? What all your hard work that you want your children and your wife and whoever else is left, or your husband, whoever else is left, to benefit from, that alone it's powerful in itself. So like as a business, you can reduce corporation tax every year. Imagine if you take all the profits that your business makes and you shove it into the SAS pension, right? You don't pay any corporation tax. You don't pay any corporation tax. And remember, you can still draw it out of the pension and reuse it for business purposes. Okay, so it's a good way to reduce corporation tax. You can borrow money against it, so you can leverage the money in your pension to buy commercial property, um, uh, and many more things. Keep going for me, Bim. Next slide. So just skip
I
to the
can go
next
back.
slide.
Sorry.
That's okay. Okay, cool. So just some key factors here. uh, Whatever so one of the things that attracts people to this type of pension is that um whatever the value of your pension is, so let's say let's say you have, I'm just picking a number here, £300,000 in your SAS pension. um £300, £300,000 in your SAS pension, right? You can take 50% of that and you can loan it to yourself. So you can take £150,000 and you can loan it back to your business, okay? And then your business can then go and use this. You have to pay this back, by the way. It's not that you can just loan it and the money disappears. You have to pay it back. But the good thing is that you are able to set the interest rate for yourself. Okay, so you go to a bank today and you want to take out a loan. The bank sets the interest rate that you will pay that loan on. With a SAS, you're loaning to yourself and you yourself decide what that interest rate is. Okay. So it has to be 0.5% above the base rate, but the base rate is like next to nothing right now. So, minimum is, I think you can set it as at 1.5. Um, so you decide, so you effectively become a bank. Okay. So you decide that the interest rate that you want to set yourself. Then the next thing is that, so that's 50% of the pot. The other 150%, sorry, the other 50% that's remaining in your pension pot. Remember, you've lent 50% to yourself. The other 50%, you can actually now borrow that to other investors. You can borrow that to other people who are maybe doing property, and you can set again the interest rates. So if someone comes to you and say, look, I've got a project and I need X amount, I need £100,000, you can take that £100,000 and you can set a rate of, let's say, 5% per year or 10% per year, you know, depending on what it is you have, depending on the agreement. You can buy commercial property, as Bimbola has just highlighted, into your SAS. Okay, so many different opportunities, so many different ways in which you can slice and dice this. I can't cover it in the time that we have, but it is just a powerful way to use money that otherwise, till today, till right now, you thought you couldn't access until you were 55. Okay. um yeah, go to the next one. So some of you may have heard of SIPs or SASs. So there are differences. People. The thing is, financial advisors don't like SAS. They think it's complicated. So if you ever go to a financial advisor, they'll most likely direct you in the direction of a SIP, and they'll tell you, oh, it's the same thing. But here, I'm giving you 10 different reasons why it's different. A SIP and a SAS are different. Um, you know, a SIP is a product. A SAS, you're effectively running a business. The investment choices that you have within a SAS are much more. The property options that you can do. You can still invest in stock markets and funds if you choose to. Um, Other investments, you can invest in gold. You can invest in gold bullion. You can't invest in like anything that can move. So exotic cars or, exotic watches or things like that. You can't invest in things like that. But there's a plethora of options in which you can still put your money in. You can do, Bimbola mentioned joint ventures. You can do joint ventures. The cost is less. Um, as I mentioned, the fees you pay in these traditional things, in this traditional pension that you have, you're probably paying 3, 4, 5% fees, sometimes. So if you're only making 6, 7% every year, your fund is only growing 1 to 2%. Okay. And then the final thing there is legacy. The legacy that you can create with a SaaS is it's incredible. So again, these are just some of the benefits or differences between a SIP and a SaaS. Move on. So that's how we can use our pensions. I see lots of questions coming in, and we'll answer it in the Q&A. We just want to get through the rest of the slides, but essentially that's how we can use our pensions today, which, you know, before we only thought that we can access it at age 55. We can use our pensions today to create wealth, but more importantly, create a legacy for our loved ones. So I'm going to give it back to Bim to take us through the rest.
Hey, thanks, Dami. I don't know about you guys, but every time I hear about this pension stuff, my head starts to spin, and I'm like, what? You mean I could have been doing all of this all this while? It's amazing. And you know, the one thing that I know for a fact about this country is they don't tell you this. Like nobody sits you down and tell you all these amazing things. And you see, and you wonder why some people are just just getting richer and richer by the day, and some people are just literally stuck. And literally, that's the difference between the rich and the poor. It's knowledge. If you don't know, you can't you can't do anything about what you don't know. So information is so powerful. Financial education is so powerful. There's a lot of stuff that Dan has mentioned that is mind blowing, and these things are there. So definitely do look into that. If you have a pension at all, just let us know. Let Danny know, and then you can have a bit more of a consultation with him. But yeah, there's so many ways to make money. Okay, so what is the opportunity that or how can we guys help you guys in terms of moving forward from here? So three things I want to point out is if you have money, and again, I believe that's the reason why we're here. We have money or we have access to money, and we just want to make sure that that money is working for us. So we have several opportunities as investors ourselves. So we're always constantly we constantly have deals, whether it's rent-to-rent deals, buying property below market deals, joint venture opportunities. There are deals everywhere. So if you are looking for a fixed return on your money, we have such opportunity, whether it's a 12 months, 18 months, 24 months, however long you want to fix your money with us or with, to invest in property. The opportunity is there. Interest rates could be anything from 4 to 10%. It really pretty much just depends on the deal, to be fair. And like I said earlier, if your money was in a savings account, it's not going to get you 4% anyway. As long as it's in this country, you won't get
0.01%.
So you know that we are going to start paying the bank to hold our money at this rate. Like that's literally where savings is going now. You're going to end up paying the bank to hold your money, to invest your money and give it to an investor like myself, charge me a huge interest and make money. So that's literally where we are. So if you're looking for a fixed return on your money, speak to us. We can help. These are opportunities that we can present to you guys. If you've started your property investment journey, and because you don't have as much time, being that you're very busy, or you don't have the know-how, being that you're also very busy in your job, we can help you scale your property portfolio over a period of time. So I listed out a whole list of different property strategies that we've done at different times. Happy to talk to you guys, happy to see what your current portfolio is and how you can maximize your return without even buying anymore. Like say, for example, you've got 2-3 properties now. Maybe it's single family lets. We can look at the portfolio and say, look, there's so many ways you can make more money even with what you've got currently. And then, let's look at how we can extract money from your current portfolio and then add more to it. And let's see how we can get other deals into this. So speak to us if you want to scale your property portfolio over a period of time. And then joint venture, that's my baby. All day, every day, talking joint venture. I'm constantly finding deals. In terms of amount, I've had opportunities where people have just invested 20,000 pounds. I've had where they've invested 30, 40. So most of my joint ventures are literally anything from like 20 to 50. Obviously, the more people are in the venture, the less money you need to put in. If I'm looking at say just 2-3 people to invest, it might mean that 2-3 people will bring in about 70K per person. So that's sometimes a lot of money for some people or not. So And then don't think about how many people are within in a deal. The most important thing is the money that I'm bringing in. What is my return on my money, and am I happy with that? So again, talk to us if you're interested in joint venture opportunities. So I think we can now start taking questions. Okay, so I hope that's been quite beneficial to you guys. I hope that you've gained something. I hope that your interest is piqued slightly, or you're very excited about what you could potentially do with your money. We're going to go through the questions and answer as many questions as we can, and then hopefully we can work together.
Cool. So the first question that was posted in the chat was, can you please throw more light in home equity? As a homeowner, how can I work out the value of my home equity?
Okay, so I'll answer that. So first thing first, how you work out the value is you just literally go on Zoopla, Rightmove. Damn, I don't even want to just put that in the chat for me. Rightmove, you guys may already know that, but if you don't, Rightmove, Zoopla, Street Check. If you go onto those sites, go to the sold house prices, to give you an idea of how much properties have sold in your area in the last few months, few years. So that's one way to find out what it is. So if you live on Goldman Street, number 4, and if you go on to put in your postcode and it says that Goldman Street number 1 sold for 200,000, look at what number 1 looks like. Is it similar to size and floor area to your property? If it is, then it's an indication that okay, that's probably what your value would be. Again, depending on how long ago that was. And sometimes if a property is old and needs work, obviously it will sell cheaper. That means it doesn't necessarily mean that that's the market value of your property. It just means that's how much that person paid for it. But typically, the value of a property is really what people are willing to pay for it. The other way to look at to find out what it's worth is you can also just go on the for sale side of those websites and put in your postcode and see what it's typical. So let's say you live in a 3-bedroom house in London, in East London, let's say East Ham. Go and put East Ham in your search, 3-bedroom houses, and see what comes up. So that will give you an indication of what the value is or what it's been marketed for. So that's how you work it out. Obviously, if you want the exact figure and you're willing to pay, then you might need to bring in a surveyor, a valuer, but then that's going to cost you, and there's probably no need to do that just yet. Or just call an estate agent and just say, I'm thinking, doesn't mean you are, I'm thinking of selling my property and I want to have an idea of what it's going to go for. They would come in and do a valuation.
And just to add to that, I would call 3 different estate agents. And the reason why you call 3 is because estate agents get they're happy people, so they want to win business, and in order to win business they might inflate the price to make you feel good, knowing that actually it might be 20,000-30,000 pounds or even more worth less than what they're saying. So it's good to get 3 different opinions. Then you have a high, you have a mid, and then you have a low, so you can gauge in those 3 opinions what your property is worth.
Yeah.
So,
and in terms of how to extract the equity, so first thing is, now you know that your property is worth 200,000 on average. Go into your mortgage statement or call your bank and say, look, what is my balance? What's my mortgage balance? What is my interest rate? When is my term coming to an end? So most of the time, most people tend to go into like a fixed term on their mortgage because it gives them that confidence and reassurance that all of a sudden your mortgage is not going to spike up the next month. So most people would have fixed. So you don't need to understand when your fixed term is coming to an end, and you need to understand what your mortgage interest rate is. If you're on a variable rate as well, again, it's good that you know. So if you know that by speaking to your bank or checking your mortgage statement, you realize that your mortgage balance is probably like £90,000, but this property is now worth £200,000. If you do the math, you're already sitting on £110,000 worth of equity in your home. Now, you're not going to get all of that money out because the banks would always like for you to have something in the deal. So, but if your mortgage interest rate was coming to an end tomorrow or next month, you can either speak to a broker or go directly to your bank and say, look, I'm looking to do some home refurbishment or something, or I'm looking. They don't like to hear that you want the money to buy another property. So definitely don't say that. Everything gets bogged under the everything is kind of collated on that home improvement, whatever that means. I don't even know, but home improvement. Just speak to your broker. But basically, you want to then speak to the bank and say, look, my fixed term is coming to an end. I would like to remortgage. And so that I would like to remortgage. Now, you don't necessarily need to say, I like to remortgage to get money. I just want to remortgage. But by virtue of you remortgaging, what happens is, and especially when you're moving from one lender to the next, the second lender is happy to give you, let's say, if it's a residential home, let's say 90% loan to value. So let's just say, for the sake of argument, 90% of the value is 180,000. So they're happy to give you 180,000. So they give the 180, you go through the process, the 180,000 gets paid to your lawyer. Your lawyer pays your first mortgage provider the 90,000 that you're owing, and then do the maths. Take out all the fees, you're probably left with 80 something thousand pounds in cash. They pay that into your bank account. That's money you can then use for the next deal. So that's how you do get money out of your home.
Yeah, and just to caveat as well, even though we're telling you, like, some examples, we're not financial advisors, so please do speak to a financial advisor before taking on any of these things. It's very, yeah, we're not financial advisors. We're just telling you the art of the possible. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, next question then. Next question is from Chukwuma, which says, I would also like to get more information about flats and leaseholds, especially when the tenure is running out. Chukwuma, I don't know if you can unmute, but are you saying that you want to buy a property with where the leasehold is like under like 30 years or 20 years or something like that?
Exactly. Thanks, Dami. That's the point. Thank you.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, it's relatively what you need to do is you need to find out how much it will be to renew the leasehold. So usually it'll go up to like, I don't know, 999 or 100 years or whatever it is. You want to find out how much it will cost in order to what the cost will be in order to renew or to extend that leasehold. The lower it is, the more expensive it is. Okay. So if it's under like 80 years, or I think 80 years is like the threshold. If it's under 80 years, and the lower below the the lower below 80 is, the more expensive it becomes. Okay. So you need to first find out how much it will cost. Because whatever that cost is, if you're buying that property, you will need to add it into your numbers. You need to factor it into the purchase price. Now, the interesting thing is, when you're dealing with a flat or property that has low lease, people don't like this. People think it's complicated. So it gives you an opportunity. The competition is not as much as if it's just a standard 3-bedroom property and you have 15, 20 people vying for the same property. So there are opportunities in these type of deals where you have low years left on a lease, and then yeah, but people don't like that, so they tend to walk away from it. So there's an opportunity there. Does that answer your question in terms of how?
Yeah, to a great extent. But I just wanted to ask as well, is it possible that the freeholder would refuse to extend the lease, so that it means you lose the property when the lease expires? Is that possible?
No, that's not possible.
Yeah,
So there are laws and that's the fantastic thing about this country. There are laws in place to make that impossible. So no, they can't. And in fact, to the point where they can charge you a fee for renewing the lease, but again, they can't even go too crazy as well. There's also there's a guide as well in terms of how much they can charge, so they can't go too crazy as well. But yeah, so the answer to your question is no, they can't refuse.
Yeah.
And then secondly, it will be expensive, but it doesn't have to be too expensive.
Yeah, and the government are bringing out new legislations. I don't know what the legislations are like 100%, but they're also looking to make it easier for individuals who have leases. They're making it easier for them to purchase and extend and do all of those bits and pieces. So the government are also looking at reforms to making this process easier. Yeah,
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank
no
you.
Let's just
problem.
say that if you're looking to buy a property that lease, the number of years left is quite well less than 80, you won't even get a mortgage on that. So anything below 80, you're gonna have to do. It has to be a cash purchase. So you've got to be aware of that. And then secondly, if you are buying one, whether with cash or mortgage, and the lease is coming to, it's going down in whatever, you can put it as a condition of the purchase for the the current vendor, the current seller, to apply for lease extension alongside the purchase. So they start the process. You pay the cost, you pay all of the costs, but they start the process. And the reason for that is unless you've held a property for 2 years, you can't go and get a lease extension. So if you buy a property today, you can't apply tomorrow for the lease to be extended. You need to have held that property for 2 years. So for most people, it makes sense to get the seller to get the process started because they've already lived in that property for over 2 years. So they start the process. It coincides with, you do it simultaneously with the purchase, and then you pay whatever the difference is.
Mm.
Okay. Thank
And
you.
the gold thing in that is a property that may uh normally be worth, for example, let's just say £300,000, but because of the low lease and because of the because you have less competition, you might get it for, I'm just picking out numbers here, you might get it for £200,000. So let's say that lease costs you £20,000 to extend, and you did it at the same time as Bimbola has just said. You've just immediately made money on that purchase because now it's gone back to £300,000. So immediately you've made 80K on that property. Crazy. So
Okay.
anyway, let's
Thanks. Sorry,
respond.
I know that I'm still in a question here, but it's just because we're on this topic. So what would your general advice be? Buying out homes, semi-detached homes, and having to invest, have mortgages, and buying out flats that you can just buy cash, because the one in question I'm talking about is about £40,000, and we're just looking at buying it out cash. So is it better to just save up and buy out many flats so that you don't have mortgage on them, or to invest in the bigger properties and have a mortgage on top of them?
Personal
Um
preference, I would say. It's
yeah, yeah.
personal preference. The amazing thing about property is there's no one answer fits all. So it's just down to personal preference. What you do need to look at though is if you're looking to buy this leasehold, what is the service charge? What are the service charge? What are the ground rent? You need to, because those are additional costs that you need to factor into your purchase. Then number two, you mentioned something about buying properties in cash. It's good to get a property, buy a property in cash to give you an advantage in terms of competition, in terms of speed to purchase, and so on and so forth. But ideally, you want to leverage off the mortgage. So even when you buy a property in cash, you want to get your money. You don't want your money sitting in any property. You want your money out ASAP. So you don't necessarily want to buy those properties in cash and leave it like that. You want to use that money for something else. So if the property is low enough, I think in the UK, up to 50K, you can get a mortgage. So
Yeah.
take out your money, get a mortgage on those properties, take out that cash, do it again, do it again, do it again. And before you know, you build yourself a portfolio.
Yeah. So what Bimbolo said at the beginning is key. It is personal preference because some investors are not so bothered about taking money out and doing it again. They just want somewhere to hold the money. So if your preference is that you're just looking for somewhere to hold the 40K, you're not like you're not maybe you have a plethora of cash available. I mean, even if you did, you might still want to redo it again and again. But some investors, they just want to hold their money in a certain place and know that the money's safe in a sense. So it's just down to your own individual goals and preferences. But what Bimbola is telling you is that if you put 40K into the property and you buy it cash down, you can still remortgage it and then go again and buy another one and buy another one and buy, and just keep doing it over and over again. Yeah.
Okay,
Does that
next.
answer your question?
Yeah, perfect.
Okay,
Thank
cool.
you so much.
Okay,
Thank
great.
you.
Next question is from
So sorry, are you guys happy to, we started 15 minutes later, but we're supposed to finish at 11:30. If you guys are happy for another 15 minutes, then we can carry on.
yeah, I think more questions are coming in.
Yeah.
So.
We're happy for another 30 minutes.
That's
Excellent.
gonna cost you. That's gonna cost you guys.
So
15 minutes.
this question's for you.
Bimbola, I was the one that asked the question that Dami was going to ask you now. So you mentioned joint ventures, and you said, "Oh, it's not risky as long as you have the right legal foundation." So my question is, how do we go about getting that legal foundation?
So when I say legal foundation, I'm talking about your contract. So if you're going to joint venture with somebody, so the way joint ventures work is you want to buy a property together with, let's say, 2-3 people. So first of all, that property needs to be in a limited company. So you set up a limited company just for this purchase. Every single person that's involved registers as a shareholder of that company. So these things are things that are easily found on companies. These are information that you can easily access, and you register with the government on the government website. And then you create a contract. Your contract will literally say things along the lines of, this is the property, this is how much was paid for it, this is how we bought it, these are the people that contributed, this is what happens when we rent it. If you're looking to rent it out, this is what's going to happen, this is who's doing the work, this is how you're splitting your roles and responsibilities, this is how profit share is going to be split. If somebody dies, this is what's going to happen. If somebody wants to come out of the joint venture, you also specify how long you want to hold that property for as a venture. Say you want to do it for 5 years. What happens if somebody wants to come out before 5 years? You put it, everything you have to agree. It's literally your contract, but you got to agree it up front and put it all in writing. Everything you want to see there, you put it in writing. If somebody dies, this is what happens. If somebody's putting money in, who's not putting money in? The person that is not putting money in, what are they doing? List the responsibilities, literally just list everything. And then you can so it becomes a joint venture agreement, a contract. You all sign it, and you can sign it in front of a solicitor if you want, just so that to give you that comfort. And obviously you then have an agreement. And it doesn't matter, and I always say this, it doesn't matter if the person is your best friend or your brother's best friend or your mother's, or it doesn't matter who they are. Everybody needs to be in a contract. When it comes to money, you got to put it down on paper so there's no ambiguity, there is no he said, she said, everything. If you have a meeting, you record your meetings as well. So that's what I mean by the legal foundation. The contract has to be tight. Now, if the contract is tight and you've all agreed, if the property is registered, there's no, I don't see how issues will come, or even if obviously issues may come about, but I don't see how you're not able to get around it. I don't see how somebody can run with the money. I shouldn't be hearing people saying, "Oh, I invested with somebody and then they ran with the money." No, because you've got to, you've got to have your ears and your eyes on it. You have, and this is something I say to people as well. It doesn't matter that you're not experienced in what you're doing, but be copied into all the emails. Ask to be copied into emails. So I do a lot of joint ventures, and I come in with the experience, the time, the knowledge, and so on and so forth. But for every single joint venture opportunity that I do, everybody gets copied, BCC'd into any email that is going out, whether it's to the builder, to the handyman, like anything, any communication. I blind copy everybody in because one, I want people to understand exactly what's going on with their money. Number two, that's where the trust is going to be built. Trust, I can't just say to somebody, trust me. No, I've got to provide you track record, and I've got to give you a reason to trust me. Number three, it also empowers you to do the same if you wanted to do it. It might be that you come on a joint venture with me, but maybe your next deal you want to do with other people, but at least now you know who to call. You have access to the broker, you have access to the handyman. You can actually go up and do it on your own if you wanted to, because now you've seen how it works. Now, I understand that not everybody wants to have that level of detailed information, and that's fine. However, as long as you can always refer back to the comms, I've got investors that just don't care. They don't want to know, Bimbo, I've given you the money, pay me my rent. And they're good, but I still copy them in because eventually, if they ever were looking for something, they would definitely find it in their inbox. So that's how you make sure that your joint ventures go, because you just want to make sure that everybody is on board. It helps. And the thing is, as well, is you also have to think long term. I always look long term. Just because I'm able to get you to venture with me today, doesn't mean that I'm not expecting this relationship to stop at this one property. I am hoping that as you're getting money, as you're doing those night shifts, those money shifts, those extra shifts, you're working for the next venture. So that's how it should work. So whether you're the one that is proposing the joint venture, you're working with other people, just going to be transparency. Everything's going to be plain and simple. Yeah. And the question is, how do we find people more experienced? You can speak to me. Yeah.
Thank you for that. Thank you.
Okay.
Okay, great. The next question's from Maduka from Kingsley. So is there an option for a minimum resident in UK to obtain mortgage on a property? Could you expand on this question a little bit more? Or Ben, do you understand
I
the
think he
question?
needs to expand. I don't know what mean.
Yeah. Maduka Kingsley, if you're able to unmute and if you're still here. No? Okay. We'll move on. If you're here, just unmute whenever you can so that we can help you with the question. Then I think the next ones are for me. There's a person who is a director of and landlord, but on a tier 2 visa qualify for the SSAS. So if I'm understanding this, you're already a director of a company which is registered in the UK, and you're already a landlord of a property in the UK. The only, is that right?
That's correct, yeah.
Okay, perfect. So the only requirements from HMRC is that you're a director of a company and your company is trading. So you can show that your company is active. That's the only requirement. As soon as they see that those two things are in place, you're good to go.
Thank you.
Yeah. For a salaried doctor with NHS pension, who is also business director and landlord, does joining the SSAS mean leaving the NHS pension? No, it doesn't mean leaving the NHS pension. You can still have your NHS pension, and because the SSAS, it's your own private pension effectively, so you can have both. And then, can one invest their SSAS in investment vehicles outside the UK? That's a good question. What are you thinking about? What type of investments are you thinking about?
Precious metals and stock exchanges in Africa, Nigeria and Ghana specifically.
Okay, precious metals. So what you could do is you could look to, so there's the loan back option of the SSAS. So where you take 50% of the value of your SSAS and you loan it to your business, to your company. So whatever you choose to do with that with that money that you loan to your company is up to you. But the thing is, you have to ensure that you're able to pay back that 50% that you've borrowed over a period of 5 years. I think the maximum time you can lend to yourself is 5 years. And then of course, like probably every year you can maybe at the end of the 5 years you can extend it, but at one time it's 5 years. So as long as whatever you invest, whatever you borrow from the pension and you borrow it into your company, whatever you invest in, you're able to pay that money back, then you should be okay. And then there'll probably be a few technicalities that you have to look at, but essentially, yeah, you will be able to invest whatever you want to invest in. Okay. So what happens is, when you say you've got this business opportunity that you want to invest in, you'll present the case to your administrators, and they'll assess the risk level of your venture. It's going to go three ways. It's going to be green, that you're fine, you're not going to contravene any HMRC rules. It's going to be amber, you're erring on the side of danger here, so you might need to fix one or two things before you go and invest that money. Or free, this is completely against HMRC rules, and if you do this, you're going to get fined. Okay, so whenever your investment options are assessed, it's very simple. It's either yes, it's this is 50-50, or a straight no. So you'll also be working with your scheme administrators to ensure that everything you're doing, you're staying on the right side of the law. Does that make sense? But in theory, yes, you can, because you just take the 50%, borrow it back to your company, and then and do whatever you want with it. So that's how you can take 50% and then invest it in property. Okay. You can also take 50% and invest it in your business effectively. Yeah.
Thank you, Dami.
No problems. No problems. So the next question then is, someone said they agree with you, Bim, because we're foreigners, we miss out on information in the UK. I don't know. We need to better ourselves and go and find this information. The information is there. Yes, we're foreigners, but we can also educate ourselves and get out there, and because the information is there, they're in books, they're in podcasts, they're in seminars, so we have to actively go and find it. Yeah, no one is willingly going to tell you anything. Everything that Bimbola knows, everything that I know, we've had to go out and find it and get it. Nobody put a book in our hands and said, here, there you go.
And paid for that, and paid for the learning as well.
And paid for the knowledge. Yeah. So yeah. Is there a recording for the webinar? I think yes, there is because Bim did that. Next one is, how much would you reckon I have saved to start my property development investment journey? Really depends. So if you're going to joint venture, you won't need as much as somebody who's starting by themselves. Bim, I don't know if you want to comment on this, but I think you said the minimum you've had is £20,000.
Yeah, so if you're interested in joining the investment club, for example, you only need £10,000, but your money is locked in for a year. But you're not buying the property, you're just investing in the club, and you get a return on your money. But if we're talking about actually owning the asset, then it will be a joint venture. And yeah, it could be anything from 20, 30K, literally dependent on the deal. Most of my joint ventures are based in the south of England, because not only am I interested in cash flow, I'm also interested in the capital appreciation. So I only, well, not only, but I am more gravitated towards the south, because I'm not just thinking, well, the goal for most of the venture is not just a quick, I want to get some money now. It's a long-term investment. But of course, if we're talking about the ones where we just want a cash now, then we can do like developments and stuff. So yeah, it could be anything. You can DM me or Dami and just let us know how we can help. The goal really is not so much how much do I have, is whatever I have, what can I do with it, and can I access more money? The other thing I want us to think about when we're talking about money to invest is, it's not just the money in your savings account that you should be looking to invest. You just need to think outside of the box. How can I access more money? I say to people that have children, use those child benefit money. I know my friends, most of my friends, they save. They have
We
a
are not financial advisors.
whatever money your hand can find, invest it and make more
Exactly.
So let's just put it that way.
Exactly.
Okay.
Okay. So hopefully that's answered that question. Moving on to the next one. So I am pulling out equity. This is from ND Egwim. I am pulling out equity from a home with a plan to rent it out in a few months. However, it won't be ready to rent for at least 4 months. Is it worth going straight to a buy to rent mortgage when I remortgage? So are you doing like an additional borrowing to pull out the initial equity?
Yeah, so I'm doing an additional borrowing for another property, which
From
I
another
intend,
property? Okay.
yes, which I intend to move into.
Okay.
But I wouldn't do that for the next 4 months. And because I haven't got a penalty when I move, I was wondering if it was worth sort of just staying on a residential mortgage, which would give me less, interest will usually be less, or if it's better to just go straight to the buy-to-let mortgage.
So you could call your bank and ask them for a consent to let. And what that would mean is that you can stay on your residential mortgage for, I think it's another period of 2 years, which of
Yeah.
course means you make more money. So rather than switch it straight to a buy to let, you can ask for your bank for consent to let, which is basically, oh, I'm going to move to another town, or I'm, for work, but I don't want to sell the house, but I need to, I need the mortgage paid, so I want to rent it out. And usually they'll say yes, and they'll give you, they should give you, if you still have quite a long term with them, I think you have up to a period of 2 years, and then after that you will then need to switch it to a buy to let. But if you can get a consent to let, there's no point going into a buy to let straight away, because you'll be paying more. Abby, is it? Would you agree, Bim?
Yeah, totally agree. There's no
Yeah,
reason to stop paying them.
yeah,
So
yeah,
the goal is you always have to tell the truth to your bank, as and when your situation changes.
mm,
But you don't need to tell them 4 months in advance when you've not already rented out the place. Like there's no real need for it.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah. So consent to this would be the way to go. I suppose if you put in your mind that, look, this property is going to be switched onto a buy to the mortgage anyways. So, but your first route to doing that is, can I get a consent to let first? If they say yes, oh, even better, because what you've then done is you've told them, so you've been truthful, and you're favored that you can stay on your current residential rate. Um, and if they say no, that they want you to switch it to a buy to let, then that's fine, because you were going
yeah,
to do that anyways.
yeah.
So
That makes sense. Thank you.
No problems. Okay, next question is from iPhone. It says, question on joint ventures. So I think this one's for you, Bim. I believe in joint ventures, and I think it's best way to grow faster. I love question one. Please, how do we stop village people's spirits that are stopping us from going into joint venture? Number two, how can we make it legally binding? I think you've already touched on that. Number three, what happens if one partner passes away? I think you've already touched on that. Does it get automatically transferred to their wife, partner, children? Um,
that would be in your legal agreement.
in the legal
So
agreement, yeah.
anything you want, it's your contract, it's your venture, it's your property. Anything you want, let it be penciled down. So things like, if someone passes away, what happens? I suppose it would be the same with any asset that they have. If something passes away, it goes into the will, and then it goes to whoever is the next of kin, and so on and so forth. You might even want to put in the contract, because we've had this before, not that someone passed away, but we discussed it. And we said, look, if someone passes away, does that mean that, do we want a situation where the next of kin steps in and becomes an active partner, or do we just want the money to go? So you want to discuss that as well, because whilst four of you have the same and similar mindset now, say for example, God forbid, one person passes away, and then now the village person, village brother, now wants to come and be telling running things, or dabbering, or just mixing and mashing everything. So you want to kind of specify that in there. Your first question, how do we stop village people from stopping us from going into joint venture? You just do it. You just do it.
You can't always be worried about everyone. You
Yeah,
find you
yeah,
find you find people who are thinking the same way as you. You find, groups like this, and there's always going to be that. You can't change everybody.
yeah.
But if you've made up your mind that this is what you want to do, then you blaze the way, and then the village will follow when they see what you're doing. So
The one thing that I want to say as well, this is very, very typical of Africans, or maybe, let me say Nigerians, because that's where I'm from. Most people have an opinion about everything, even when they don't actually know. So always get into the habit of only taking an advice from people that are doing exactly what it is. So, like we've been talking now, we're telling you about property based on what we're doing. We won't give you financial education, because that's not our job. Hence why Dami keeps saying we're not giving you financial information and advice, blah blah blah.
because we don't want anyone to come back and say Bimbola and Damage told us that.
But I would definitely give you advice on property, because
Yeah.
I'm on it and I'm doing it. So if somebody says, so you hear things like, don't buy any property now, or don't do that business with that. You know how you know that our friend, they will not start giving you story. Now, what people always fail to do is, when they're giving their story, they always miss out the most important part of the story. The reason why the whole thing went pear-shaped. So, like I said, if you're going to go into a joint venture, just make sure that you know what's going on. I think if you ask the right questions, you'll be able to avoid any pitfalls. So if somebody comes with a deal, so I was consulting for someone the other day, and he told me, oh, there's this deal, and this person wants him to they want 40 or 60K, and they're going to give them 200. They were going to give them half of that money in interest payments 3 months later. So I'm like, okay, that sounds interesting. So first of all, I'm like, what are they actually using the money for? What are they, what is your money going into? Where is the property? Has the property already been purchased? Is this being purchased? How are they going to repay back the money? So when you ask the right questions, if it's a genuine deal, the person will be able to answer as many questions as is possible. The only thing that they won't be able to answer is anything that is like, if they have to guarantee you a rate or guarantee you what's going to happen in the market, nobody can give that
No, you
guarantee.
can't.
But
You
they
can't.
should
No.
generally be able to answer these questions. And if somebody's saying, oh, you're going to get half of how much you invested within 3 months, it's impossible that you get that in property. Even property, you can't get that much in a
Yeah.
very short space of time. So already that's a red flag. So whenever you're going to go into anything, just ask the right questions. Seriously, ask the right questions. Don't allow people to get offended that you're asking questions, because it's your money. Your money is your sweat. Your money is your time. So ask the right questions, and if it's genuine, if it checks out, the answers will give you the confidence that I mean, I've had one of my joint ventures. There's this white guy. Most of my joint ventures are usually with black people. So this white guy comes along and he wanted to invest, and I was actually quite happy because I didn't even sell the idea to. He actually spoke to me, and then this guy asked me questions like, "Who is the solicitor? Let me have their name. Let me have their telephone number." And I thought it was funny that he asked, but nobody had ever asked me that. But he actually went as far as calling the solicitors and said, "This, I'm part of this deal. Can you tell me more?" And I was really happy that he did that. For me, it was cool because there was nothing to hide anyway, and every question that he asked or answered. So he was more comfortable, was very comfortable to invest. But also, what he told me was, white people don't play. Like, he was not playing. Everybody else, they were, Africans were just lovely like that. We just take everybody's word for it. So, but in business, you don't take people's word for it. The numbers have to tell you. You take the numbers word for it. You take the contract's word for it, and not just people. So if you do that, you wouldn't get into trouble.
Thank you. Okay. So moving on to, hopefully that's answered those questions there. The next question, if I can load it up, give me a moment, is please can you throw, this is from Matt Model. Sorry, hopefully I'm saying your names right. Apologies if it's slightly off. It says, please can you throw more light remortgage? What is the smartest way to get your money back and reinvest in another property and so on to get a portfolio?
I think we talked about this already. So
Yeah, I think, yeah, it depends where you're starting from. If you're starting from a project, so you're really starting to invest, then you're going to be looking at the strategy which Bimbala mentioned about buy, refurbishing, and refinancing. So the refurbishing aspect being the most important. Well, actually, first of all, trying to buy below market value. So you're getting a good discount on the property. The second thing is you're then adding value to the property, whether that's because you've redone a kitchen or you've added a room or you've done an extension, something that's going to add value to the property, to drive the price of the property up, and then refinancing it to pull back as much money as you can, in order for you to build a portfolio. So again, that's something that we can assist with. That's something that we can help with. So feel free to get in touch with us. Blaze the path and the village will follow. Quotable from Damishi Abola. Nice one. Nice one, Egrim. How do we contact either of you? Our contact details are now on the page. So as we said, myself and Bimbala, we host a podcast called Propcast. So you can go on on podcast on Apple, Google Podcast, Spotify. You'll find, if you search for Propcast, you should see that yellow cover with me and Bim on it, and you can listen to all our previous episodes. Our email is there. and our numbers are there, so you can get in touch, and Instagram details are there. So feel free to get in touch with us, and we would love to yeah, take this forward with you. Of course, there's a lot we've covered, and yeah, I guess I'll hand back to Bim if you want to close us out.
Right. Thanks for following us on Instagram. Yes, that's another way to get some of the things that we're sharing on Instagram. If anyone is on Clubhouse, we have 2 rooms that we host on Clubhouse every week. On Tuesday, I think Tuesday at 6, right, Dami? No.
Yeah, correct.
No, Tuesday at 7.
7.
Wages to Wealthy, and Thursdays at 6, just taking property Q&A, just speaking to people, prop chats, just chatting about property strategies and people that are doing good things in property, so you can get to hear a bit more about what we do. I think that, sorry, Lisa, how do we get this particular recording? Oh, that will be down to Malachi. He's the one recording this. Right, so have you guys got our contact details? If you want to take a screenshot of this, please do that now before I stop sharing.